As with every year, there are a ton of new laws around the country starting on January 1st. I take a look at these again and decide if it's a good or bad year for liberty. What's in the news with stories on government banning drivers, government banning bulletproof glass, Canada recreational cannabis, government being sued, cop deaths are down, and cops kill an unarmed man. And an Ancap Apps segment on Edward Snowden's new app, Haven. This episode is brought to you by Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom, helping you to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before for just 24 cents a day. Also brought to you by NordVPN, the fastest, easiest to use service to protect your online presence that I've ever seen.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the state that is second in the nation for beef consumption per capita, behind only North Dakota, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Revolution needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at The Lava Flow Pod. This is episode 77, New Year, New Laws 2018, and it's Saturday, January 6th, 2018, when there were over 1,188 people killed by police in 2017 and already more than 14 this year. And the United States debt clock shows us at $20,601,575 million in debt. What's rustling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. As is my New Year's tradition on this show, let's take a look at some of the hundreds or thousands of new laws that have taken effect with the new year. Then I'll try to decide if it's a net negative, a net positive, or a draw for liberty. To begin, I'm going to take a look at my new chosen home state of New Hampshire, a beacon of liberty in an otherwise desolate and former beacon of liberty that is the United States. Here are just a few of the bills that passed in 2017 that were pro-liberty in the Free State Project state. Constitutional carry, cannabis decriminalization, expanded medical cannabis, cryptocurrency deregulation, overdose immunity, home poker games, hair braiding licensing repeal, firecracker legalization, legalized needle exchange, allowing brew pubs to make cider, greater vaccine options at pharmacies, town tuitioning freedom, over 1,600 regulations eliminated, Common Core mandates stopped, and stingrays banned without a warrant. Now, there are likely some things that were missed in this list too, but this is a huge list. Tell me, honestly, did your state come even close to passing as much pro-liberty legislation as New Hampshire did in 2017? Even half? Likely your state didn't pass a quarter of the pro-liberty bills as New Hampshire did. So why aren't you living here yet? With your help, we could double or triple this next year. Sign up for the Free State Project now at fsp.org. The socialist country of California has passed, as usual, a ton of anti-liberty laws that start this year. For example, employers' freedom of speech is being restricted since they can no longer ask a prospective employee's prior salary. They can't even ask. Also, Californians can no longer buy dogs and cats on installment plans. Really? Ownership is now contingent on making all payments before you can take possession of your critter. That's just ridiculous. California also passed a law that requires schools with low-income students to provide feminine hygiene products to girls, at taxpayers' expense, of course. California's 6 million gun owners won't be able to buy bullets online and have them shipped to their homes anymore. A new rule requires purchasers to pick up their orders in person from a licensed vendor, which is going to really increase the price of that ammunition. The state's also clamping down on gifting assault weapons. Another new state law also prohibits people convicted of a hate crime from possessing a gun for 10 years. Separate legislation will repeal a policy which previously allowed school officials to decide whether or not their staff should be allowed to carry concealed guns on campus. Now, all firearms will be banned on school property, period. That's just what we need, more complete gun-free zones. Also, the minimum wage jumps by 50 cents in California to $11 an hour. Speaking of business burdens, companies with between 20 and 49 employees in California must now provide up to 12 weeks of unpaid maternity or paternity leave for new parents. And new parents can't lose their job and health care benefits while bonding with the baby. And in a bone-chilling anti-freedom of press and speech bill, starting in 2018, a judge will be able to determine additional consequences for anyone who, quote, willfully recorded a video of the commission of a violent felony, end quote. So if you happen to see someone getting robbed, beaten, killed, etc., and you record it, you could face penalties. But it's not all bad in the socialist state, believe it or not. California's recreational cannabis market opened its doors to residents beginning Monday at 6 a.m. Buyers 21 years or older will be legally allowed to purchase up to an ounce of marijuana and up to 8 grams of concentrates. They'll also be legally allowed to smoke it in all places that allow cigarettes to be smoked by law, which, well, let's be honest, isn't a whole lot of places in California. Also in California, state and local law enforcement agencies will not be able to use its resources, such as its funds or personnel, to investigate, detain, or arrest people for immigration enforcement purposes. Unofficially called a sanctuary state bill, supporters, including California Governor Jerry Brown, says that it, quote, prohibits the commandeering of local officials to do the work of immigration agents. But critics say it limits cooperation between federal agencies and local law enforcement. I'm good with anything that stops immigration enforcement on peaceful people. California clearly fares the worst in 2018 for new anti-liberty laws, but New York is never far behind. New York will permit employees to take up to 8 weeks of paid family leave, with this eventually expanding to 12 weeks. New York's minimum wage also increased by $1.50 to $12 an hour. But I couldn't find a single pro-liberty new law in New York starting this year. Not a single one. But that's not a huge surprise. In some other workplace laws around the country, Nevada law now requires employers to grant up to 160 hours of leave per year to employees who are victims of domestic violence or have family members who are victims. Employers in Vermont can't require or even request employees to provide their social media content. The act is meant to provide social media privacy for employees. While I support your right to not work for a company that would require or even ask for such information, I also support a company to ask for your information if they're truly that fucking stupid, and even to require that information as a condition of your employment. They would find out pretty quickly that it's not a good way to find employees to work for them. 18 states in total are increasing their minimum wage this year. New Hampshire is still not one of them, thank Rothbard. In police state laws, North Carolina's driver's handbook will give instructions on how to deal with police during a traffic stop. The new law comes after people have died during traffic stops. The state law requires advice, including what actions the driver should take, to be included in the driver's handbook. Instead of training their cops how to not kill people, they're trying to train their drivers how not to get killed. Unfucking believable. You know you live in a police state when, right? A win for freedom of speech in Tennessee, though. Colleges in the state cannot stifle freedom of speech and expression by issuing speech codes, establishing free speech zones, or disinviting speakers based on opposition by others to the content of their speech. Tennessee removed some protectionist bullshit laws, too. Barbers can now make house calls in the state. Before, they could only go to homes of customers who were ill. Now, barbers with residential certificates can cut hair in anyone's home regardless of their client's health. I'm not quite sure what it takes to get a residential certificate in Tennessee, but you can bet your sweet ass it includes a fee that goes directly to the state, and probably even some sort of a test. August 4th is now Barack Obama Day every year in Illinois. It should be noted, though, that if you do live in Illinois, don't expect a day off from work or school, since it's only considered a commemorative date rather than an official holiday under state law. Illinois is also protecting other animals starting this year. In 2018, pets will be elevated in status in Illinois. Dogs, cats, and other four-legged fur babies will be fair game in custody battles. Judges will be instructed to take into consideration what is best for the animal during divorce proceedings. The state is also banning elephants from circuses and traveling exhibits. New legislation in Pennsylvania will allow for residents to purchase consumer fireworks, which includes novelties like ground and handheld sparkling devices, toy caps, and display fireworks without a permit. But the real bang is the 12% sales tax revenue slated to accompany such purchases. I shit you not. A portion of the sales tax revenue earned through the hefty 12% rate is slated to go toward emergency medical services for firefighter training. Pennsylvanians will only be allowed to set off fireworks on private property. They cannot use them in cars, shoot them into cars, at a building, or another person. Those who do will face a $100 fine. And of course, taxes are going up all over. The legal marijuana we spoke of in California will have up to a 45% tax on each purchase in many districts. But also, Oregon is looking to cash in on bike riders in 2018. Bicycle buyers will have to pay a flat $15 fee for each bike they buy that costs more than $200. Businesses will collect the cash during the sale of the bike and turn it over to the state every quarter. Oregon will also bump up its gas tax by 4 cents per gallon in January. Vehicle registration fees will jump by $13. On the flip side, New Jersey's sales tax will now go down to just over 6.6%. The lowering of the tax was part of the agreement when Governor Chris Christie passed a gas tax bill. Oh, and America's 2 million federal workers are all getting a raise, whether they deserve it or not. The 1.9% raise works out to an average of about $140 a month. My layman's anarchist perspective is that the new laws that will take effect this year are a huge, huge net loss for liberty in most of the country, with the only exception I could find being New Hampshire. And I looked hard for pro-liberty bills in other parts of the country. I really did. Sadly, most of the country is becoming more authoritarian and giving people less freedom and stealing more than ever from their people. But are any of us surprised by that? Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In government solutions news, only the government would decide that the best way to fix traffic problems would be to ban drivers. The New Jersey borough of Leonia has a novel solution for its traffic problems. Ban outsiders from using its roads. I shit you not. I couldn't make this shit up. Come January, the borough government will prohibit all non-residents from driving on Leonia's roads, save one thoroughfare from 6 to 10 a.m. and 4 to 9 p.m., including on Saturdays and Sundays. There are also 2 state-maintained roads in Leonia that don't fall under the borough's jurisdiction and thus aren't subject to the new ordinance. People who live or work in Leonia will get a sticker to let police know their vehicles are allowed in the town. Dan Eldridge, who is often in Leonia to see his girlfriend, says, quote, "My gut reaction was just another example of outrageous government overreach. Using a hammer when what you really need is a scalpel. Come January, such visits will come with a risk of a traffic stop and interrogation from Leonia law enforcement for seeing his girlfriend. Walling off the town to through traffic presents some pretty startling civil liberties implications. The new ordinance says any non-residents found driving on the borough's streets during prohibited hours will have to be ready to demonstrate or document a need to access a residence on the street. Any non-residents stopped by police will have to explain their reason for being in the town and what business or resident they plan on visiting while there, or risk fines and court summons. The ordinance does not describe what counts as a need or what kind of demonstration or documentation will be required of travelers to proceed on Leonia's roads unmolested. I imagine they'll figure that out as they go along. Mayor Judah Ziegler says extra law enforcement personnel will be on hand to, quote, aggressively enforce the new laws. This, Ziegler says in an email to Leonia residents, will allow, quote, the word to get out that Leonia is no longer to be considered the cut-through for the entire eastern part of New Jersey. So, essentially, Government caused a problem by bureaucratically deciding where roads go, congest those same roads by not allowing competition to their monopoly on roads, and now they decide that the best way to fix it is to ban cars from the roads. What's next? Getting rid of the roads completely to end traffic congestion? I mean, how typical is this of a government solution to a government-created problem? And for the mayor to use such threatening language as aggressively enforce the new laws clearly shows they give zero fucks about us, the peasants. In Statism Kills news, the Philadelphia City Council has passed a bill which enables the city's Licenses and Inspections Department to regulate the bullet-resistant barricade that stands between customers and cash registers in many neighborhood corner stores. The council voted 14-3 to pass this legislation, which is aimed at regulating certain businesses in poor neighborhoods. These beer delis, as they're often called, offer bottles of beer to go, shots of liquor to consume on their premises, and food. They're also accused of being frequent sites of public urination, selling cigarettes to children, hawking drug paraphernalia, and serving as gathering places for dealers in illegal drugs. The bill requires Philadelphia's Department of Licenses and Inspections to issue new regulations on the, quote, use or removal of physical barriers, specifically bulletproof glass panels used to separate patrons from cashiers and servers. The original bill actually banned the barriers outright. But after store owners raised a ruckus about it, it was watered down to a demand for regulations by unelected bureaucrats instead. Why is there so much concern over bulletproof glass, which obviously exists to protect store employees from criminals? Apparently, patronizing an establishment that seeks to separate employees from customers makes some people feel bad. Councilwoman Cindy Bass said, quote, right now the plexiglass has to come down. We want to make sure that there isn't this sort of indignity, in my opinion, to serving food through a plexiglass only in certain neighborhoods. Look, there's a reason why these bulletproof barriers are needed in some areas of the city and not others, for the exact same reason that the city of Philly itself already deploys more police officers and mobile units to those same neighborhoods. It's because, statistically, those are the neighborhoods where the majority of crime happens, period. For the city to decide that it is better to not make people feel bad than to allow people to protect their lives is the real indignity here. Feelings, according to this fuckstick of a politician, are more important than lives. Fuck her in the neck. And fuck anyone in the neck who thinks their feelings trump anyone's life, liberty, or property. There will almost certainly be more deaths in these neighborhoods now because of this law, and all that blood is on the hands of the city council members who voted for this law and the people who put them in power. In ending prohibition news, Canada is poised to become the first G7 country to legalize recreational cannabis. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau introduced legislation in April designed to legalize recreational marijuana by July 2018. Canada's Cannabis Act was introduced in the Canadian Senate, its last legislative stop after Parliament passed the bill 282. Quote, I think it's broadly recognized that criminalizing cannabis has been a failure, said Senator Tony Dean of Ontario, a sponsor of this bill. He believes it's going to pass by July 2018, if not before. Retailers have been preparing to start selling legal marijuana in July, so the timing could be tight. But Canada's recreational marijuana market is expected to mean big bucks. According to recent estimates from Marijuana Business Daily, an industry publication, annual sales for Canada's recreational marijuana market could range between $2.3 billion to $4.5 billion by 2021. This is a huge step for victims of the drug war in Canada. People will no longer be locked up and potentially killed for smoking a completely natural cannabis plant. Guys, you know Tom Woods. You know his books. You know his podcast. Now learn what he learned to get where he is today in Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom. Get the equivalent of a PhD in libertarian thought and free market economics online for just 24 cents a day while sitting at your computer or driving in your car. You can get it now at thelavaflow.com/woods. Listening to the audios and watching the videos will load you up with the facts, figures, and other ammunition that you need to feel supremely confident and come out on top when arguing politics or economics with yet another devoted socialist or neoconservative. But I repeat myself. Get a yearly membership to Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom for only $89 a year. Or like me, go for the masterclass for lifetime access for only $497 and get tons of bonus material as well, including monthly live sessions with Liberty Classroom faculty and 435 audio-video lessons on government and history that Tom created specifically for the Ron Paul curriculum, worth $250 alone. Make sure to sign up today at thelavaflow.com/woods to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before. In a Jimmie's Update news, back in episode 55 of this show, at thelavaflow.com/55, I talked about the mess around the Oroville Dam near disaster in California that was brought about by government incompetence. Even though it wasn't the disaster it could have been, there were still damage claims flooding into the state by the hundreds, shops and restaurants that lost their business, farms that got overwhelmed by surges in water, cities and counties buried in evacuation expenses. Most claims argue that the state is responsible for the emergency because it ignored warning signs about the condition of the dam spillway. So far, as if this is any surprise at all, the state hasn't paid a single claim. Residents, farmers, and municipal governments filed 490 claims with the state in the months following the Oroville crisis, which forced the evacuation of 188,000 downstream residents. The claims totaled more than $1.2 billion, although that included a single $1 billion claim filed on behalf of, quote, all affected parties, whose riverfront land was damaged by abrupt water releases from Lake Oroville. To this point, the Department of General Services hasn't accepted a single claim. The agency has rejected 347 of the claims outright, most because they were deemed more complex than the standard administrative claims the department normally receives, said DGS Deputy Director Monica Hassan. Some were denied because the claimants missed the August 11th deadline. They failed to pay the filing fee, or they didn't supply enough information for the claim to be evaluated. Really? So they rejected the vast majority of these claims because they were too complex? What the actual fuck is that about? Of course, this simply means that this opens the state for lawsuits related to this. Lawsuits that will cost the taxpayers dearly. But why should some bureaucrat give a shit about taxpayer money? It's not like it's their money. The government stole the money from you in the first place. Are you looking for a way to protect your online presence quickly, easily, and inexpensively while still surfing the net with high speed? Well, NordVPN is the best way that I've ever found to do just that. With over 2,500 servers worldwide, they cover every continent except Antarctica. But as they say, that's only because penguins just don't get the internet. They also offer double data encryption, which encrypts data not once, but twice. And they never log what you do and where you go on the internet. Also, NordVPN is fast, the fastest VPN service that I've ever used. They have apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, so you can protect all of your traffic from all of your devices with NordVPN. Starting as low as $3.29 per month, they're also inexpensive, and they take Bitcoin too. With NordVPN, you can securely access any website from anywhere around the world, safely share files via P2P networks, and enjoy the fastest VPN experience without compromising your online security and privacy. Get signed up for the VPN service that I personally use every time I hit the internet at thelavaflow.com/VPN. Again, that's thelavaflow.com/VPN. In police officer deaths news, the number of law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty dropped sharply in 2017, making it the second lowest toll in more than 50 years. 128 officers have died in the line of duty in 2017, with 44 shot and killed. That's down 10% from 2016, when 143 officers died, with 66 shot and killed, according to data released by the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. The only other year with fewer deaths in the past 5 decades was 2013, when 116 officers were killed. Gunfire duty deaths were down 33% from 2016 to 2017. Jeffrey P. Alpert, a professor at the University of South Carolina and a researcher on high-risk police activity, said, quote, "It's definitely a good sign, but if it's a trend, we'll have to see. We're starting to see the impact of all this new training and equipment and a shift because of the overall concern for officer safety." New training and equipment? Bullshit. No one's going to face the facts here that there is little that is inherently dangerous about being a cop. It is eclipsed by dozens and dozens of professions that are much more dangerous, including farming, roofing, fishing, logging, piloting aircraft, refuse collectors, and many, many others. Especially in today's police state, where there is apparently nothing more important than the safety of an officer, even at the expense of our own safety, as we've seen over and over again. Keep in mind, there were nearly 1,200 of us killed by police in 2017, 10 times the amount of officers who died in the line of duty. And keep in mind, that line of duty includes everything from 47 car crash deaths, 10 heart attacks, 6 other health-related illnesses, 5 drowned, 4 died due to 9/11-related illnesses, 2 in boating accidents, and 2 in helicopter crashes. Oh, and of those 47 car crash fatalities, 42% of them were single-vehicle crashes. Maybe they need to start training our police officers how to drive. The average firearms-related fatality by decade for police officers has been plummeting since the 70s, where there was an average of 127 per year. In the 80s, that dropped to 87, with 68 in the 90s, 57 in the 2000s, and a 53 so far average per year in the 2010s. It appears the only area of officer deaths that went up this year was job-related illnesses, up from 9 last year to 16 this year, including heart attacks. But you know, being a cop is so fucking dangerous that if someone reaches to pull their underwear up, the cop is all of a sudden in danger and has the right to blow the victim away and get away with murder. Yeah, that. And let's not even talk about a dog barking at a cop. And speaking of cop murder news, Kansas cops killed an unarmed man for being pranked in a swatting call. In the Wichita prank call, the caller said someone had an argument with their mother, that the father was accidentally shot, and that a brother, a sister, and the mother were held hostage. Wichita Police Deputy Chief Troy Livingston said, quote, "We learned through that call that the father was deceased, shot in the head, so that's the information we were working off of. Our officers came here prepared for a hostage situation. Several got in position. A male came to the front door, and one of our officers discharged his weapon. The irresponsible actions of a prankster put people's lives at risk. The incident is a nightmare for everyone involved, including the family and our police department. Due to the actions of a prankster, we have an innocent victim. If the false police call had not been made, we would not have been there." Police say they shot Finch after he moved his hands to his waistline. He was taken to a hospital where he died. You know, I wonder what would happen if average citizens like you and I started blowing people away for reaching to pull their fucking pants up. I guarantee you that we would be sitting in prison, not drawing a taxpayer-funded paycheck and benefits while blaming the death on a person who made a phone call. Now, clearly, I'm not saying the prankster should not be held responsible for his actions, because his actions did lead to the death of a human being, but he did not pull the trigger on an unarmed innocent man. Tyler Barris was arrested in Los Angeles on Friday for making the phone call to police after the Wichita Police Department issued a fugitive warrant. Barris, who had previously served time in prison in 2016 for making up to 20 false bomb reports, is expected in court this week on an extradition request to Kansas. The attorney for the slain victim's family says they want the officer charged for his death as well. And of course, in a society where men with badges don't have extra privileges and rights, he would already have been charged for shooting an unarmed, innocent man who posed no threat to him at any time. Maybe one day we'll live in such a world. I hope at least that my children will have that opportunity. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
Ancap Apps.
If you've listened to this show for any amount of time, you know I'm a huge fan of Edward Snowden for putting his life and future on the line to let the media know about massive government spying and surveillance on most, if not all, Americans. Well, this week's Ancap app is an application in part designed by Edward Snowden himself. The Guardian Project and Freedom of the Press were also involved in the development of this application. The app is called Haven, Haven is an open source app that will run on any Android phone, particularly inexpensive and older devices. It operates like a surveillance system, using the device's camera, audio recording capability, and even accelerometer to detect movement and to notify a user. The idea is that, even with the best encryption in the world, a device is vulnerable to physical, in-person tampering, also known as the evil maid, because literally a hotel maid could access it. This app was developed to offer eyes and ears to prevent or at least increase awareness of whether a device has been tampered with. So, for example, you'd set up a burner Android device in a hotel safe alongside your laptop. Haven could then be set to broadcast any audio or movement. Basically, if anyone opened the safe, it would snap a photo, record audio, and detect motion. Alerts can be sent via SMS, Signal, or to a Tor-based website. Writing for The Intercept, Micah Lee, a member of Freedom of the Press who helped set up and test this app, admitted that the app does have some shortcomings, such as maintaining constant internet access for notifications, preventing battery drain, and false positives. But it offers something new for those who would welcome the peace of mind from additional surveillance. While beyond helping keep hardware secure, it could also have other uses as well. Lee wrote, quote, Haven can also be used as a cheap home or office security system to detect break-ins or vandalism while you're away, positioning the phone to send you photographs when someone walks within range. Or you can use it to monitor for wildlife in rural areas, or to capture evidence of human rights violations and disappearances. Haven can be downloaded via Google Play and open-source Android app store F-Droid. Now, this is a pretty cool app, and I'm going to definitely get an old piece of Android hardware for cheap and run it through its paces. I could think of dozens of applications for this, and it makes such a seemingly innocuous device, a cell phone that everybody has, into a powerful tool for protection and surveillance. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite New Year's first kiss, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on this show, go to thelavaflow.com/77. I have no new supporters this week, and sadly, I've gone down a bit from my all-time high. But thanks to all of my awesome supporters, I am at $255 per episode, or 51% of the way towards my next goal of $500. Remember, when I hit this next goal, I'll be upping my content that I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour per week. Now, I know that you want more content from me, and I definitely want to give it to you. So please add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the lava flow that you're getting right now. And if you do want more of the lava flow, exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving me a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. I also have no Apple podcast reviews since the last episode either, but if you have a minute and you want to hear your review on the show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating or a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thanks to everyone who's left me a rating and review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys please help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Also, I've had one new person buy Bitcoin through a Coinbase account using my affiliate link, and they purchased at least $100 in Bitcoin. Remember, if you do this, you and I both get a free $10 in Bitcoin. Thanks to Paul R. for doing this and getting both of us some free jingle. If you want a free $10 in Bitcoin, go to thelavaflow.com/Coinbase today and sign up for an account and buy at least $100 in Bitcoin. It really is that simple. Don't you want free money? What are you waiting for? Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.